welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason, and this MAISTO Porsche 959 is looking in terrible shape. I'm unsure about quite what has happened to this casting, but something is attacking the rear quarter of it. It looks like rust, but it isn't. Diecast models are made of zinc-based alloys, commonly referred to as Zamac, with alloying elements of aluminium, magnesium and copper, hence its acronymic name. There's no iron in it, so it can't be rusty, but instead likely oxidization that has corroded and discoloured, probably due to the orange rear light bar. Oxidization on Zamac is usually white and powdery, which you'll see evidence of once I start taking this Porsche apart. It means that this otherwise tidy looking model has been exposed to moisture, salts or acids for an extended amount of time. I will put that right today with a full custom of this casting in an authentic 1980s white body with white painted wheels. These are in the form of a replica set of 959 wheels from Creative 164. Here you can see clearly the oxidization I was talking of earlier in the wheel arch. I felt a bit sorry for this casting. All of the other elements of it were in decent condition. Yes, aside from the bubbling paint there were a few scratches, but the wheels looked like they had fresh foils on them. The transparency was also in really good shape. I now just need to remove the rear light bar plastic piece, and then I can properly see the extent of the damage to the casting. I was concerned that some of the casting lines and details may have been lost to the corrosion, so I scratch away at the blistered surface, taking any flaking paint off with it. There's a little bit of damage on that rear light bar, but it should be reusable as long as I'm fairly gentle with it. Now this isn't my first Porsche 959 casting. Back in the lockdown days of 2020, I customised Siku's version of the car, which was a lot bigger and chunkier than this MAISTO. I repainted it, but made a mistake by not straightening out a clearly bent frunk which was designed to open and close. I also didn't have access to such a wealth of custom wheels at the time, so I had to make do with a green light set which were a bit off the mark. In that video, I did briefly touch on the history of the 959, but I'll readdress it here. Development on what would become the 959 commenced in 1981. Porsche's chief designer was Helmuth Bott, who foresaw the need for a sports car the company could continue to rely on for years to come, as well as one that could be developed too. Bott used the 911 as a basis for a rear-engine development model, but convinced managing director Peter Schutz of the need for a new all-wheel drive system. Bott was also well aware of the impact a racing program had on accelerating development. He envisaged the new car as a competitor in the burgeoning Group B rallying scene. It would be powered by a twin-turbocharged dual-overhead cam flat-six engine with air-cooled cylinders and water-cooled heads. The 2.8 litre unit was coupled to a 6-speed manual transmission, producing 444 horsepower. The car's chassis was an aluminium and Kevlar composite, as were the body panels, while the floor is made of Nomex instead of steel. Its body was designed to be extremely aerodynamic, with a 0.31 drag coefficient when teamed with its automatic ride height adjustment. The all-wheel drive system was developed to send as much as 80% of power to the rear wheels during hard acceleration, varying power bias depending on the road surface and condition. Magnesium alloy wheels were fitted, which were hollow to form a sealed chamber with the tyre. They were also equipped with a built-in tyre pressure monitoring system. The Gruppe Bay prototype was to be debuted at the 1983 Frankfurt Motor Show. Finishing touches were being applied to the car in the hours leading up to its unveiling. Following the first two prototypes, the body was modified to include air vents in the front and rear wheel housings, as well as intake holes behind the doors. Speaking of doors, here's something noteworthy I spotted regarding this MAISTO model's doors.
Now this is interesting. I don't know if you can see,
but can you make out the little grooves just inside the door there? And this very thick door piece, it looks like there were supposed to be opening doors on this 959. Sure enough, when this model was first produced under the MC Toys moniker, it did indeed have opening doors. It's unclear whether any Maisto models also had this feature, or if this was a cost-saving modification that quickly came about. The casting had a long life, featuring in Maisto's lineup until the early 2010s in their Fresh Metal series. By this time, the swinging cost cuts had taken their toll, with the removal of the interior and subsequent loss of transparent glass in favour of blacked out windows. Also, the rear light bar was removed. What survived since its late 1980s inception, however, was an oversized Porsche emblem on the front and Porsche wording on the rear spoiler. As far as colours go, I've seen these castings painted black, silver, white and red. There was also a purple pace car or a white and green Polizei police car, complete with rooftop red beacons. These had blacked out windows to hide the electronic gubbins, as these models also made noises. 1 in 36 scale models of the 959 were additionally produced under both the MC Toy and Maisto branding. It wouldn't be until the 1985 Frankfurt Motor Show that the road-going car, now called the 959, would make its first public appearance. Production issues would delay customer deliveries until 1987. It costs $225,000, nearly $660,000 today, less than half what it cost Porsche to build the car. There were two levels of trim, comfort and sport, corresponding to the trim with more creature comforts or being more track focused. Instead of Porsche's production facility at Zuffenhausen, the 959 was built at Carrosserie Bauer on an assembly line overseen by Porsche inspectors. In 1986, Auto, Motor und Sport measured a top speed of 198 miles per hour and a 0 to 62 time of 3.7 seconds. Each of these values were recognised by Guinness World Records as the highest speed achieved by a road car and the fastest acceleration time. The top speed record was bettered in 1987 by the Rough CTR, achieving 213 miles per hour. Production of the 959 ended in 1988, with 292 cars completed. A total of 337 were built, including the 37 prototype and pre-production models. 29 examples were the 959S, an even more hardcore version which had larger turbochargers and had the air conditioning, central locking, power windows, rear seats and self-leveling system removed to save weight. This had an improved power output of 508 horsepower and, when tested by Auto, Motor und Sport, hit 211 miles per hour. Between 1992 and 1993, Porsche built 8 further cars from spare parts at Zuffenhausen, each to comfort specification, 4 in red, 4 in silver. These cars cost 747,500 Deutschmarks, equivalent to over $1 million today. They were sold to selected collectors after being driven by works personnel for a time. A common misconception is that Porsche did not provide cars to the US Department of Transport for crash testing. Rather, Porsche decided to build the 959 to European safety standards only. It was already apparent during development that the exchange rate between the Deutschmark and the US dollar was so unfavourable that they would already lose $200,000 on the sale of each 959. Of the few cars that did enter the US, owners paid storage fees to keep their 959s in foreign trade zones adjacent to US ports, where goods are not considered to be in the US for legal reasons. Famously, Bill Gates purchased a 959 in 1988, which was stored by the Customs Service for 13 years. In 1999, Gates, among other US owners, convinced the government that the car could be imported officially under a new show car display law due to its significance to car culture. This meant that the car did not need to meet federalized safety standards. Gates's car was made available to him shortly after the amendment came into force, though annual mileage was limited to 2,500 miles. As the 959 is now beyond the 25-year age limit, it no longer needs to comply to these regulations. Due to the car's extended development period, it missed the Group B boat, with the programme cancelled in 1986 despite the car being fully homologated and production numbers met. The first development race cars were essentially 911 Carreras that were modified to test the all-wheel drive system. Internally known as the 953, it placed first in the 1984 Paris-Dakar Rally, in addition to placing 6th and 25th. A 959 would win the 1986 Paris-Dakar Rally, and a circuit racing variant called the 961 would debut at Le Mans that year, finishing first in class. Sadly, I don't have the time to do a deep dive into the car's racing pedigree today, as I've run out of time. Here was how the corroded MAISTO 959 of mine looked earlier. This model was looking very forlorn with its bubbling, blistered paintwork. I didn't need any excuses to get cracking on sorting it out, with a set of authentic replica wheels from Creative 164 in tow. Looking for an authentic 80s vibe, I decided on a white body and white wheels for this project, all the while hoping that the oxidization and metalworm wasn't incurable. And here is how it now looks in a gleaming white on white fresh colour scheme. The wheels look great on it, teamed with some chunky rubber. I've filled all of the vents and grooves with Nuln oil to emphasise them, and fitted a Porsche emblem to the tip of the frunk. Around the back are where the most dramatic changes have occurred. I've corrected the colour of the plastic taillight piece, and have successfully resolved all of that corrosion. That corner of the car is now looking far happier. I really liked this casting to begin with, and I don't think my modifications have added too much. Rather, I've helped give it a few more years instead of it dissolving away. Tell me what you think about this MAISTO or MC toy casting as it was. I think it has some of the best bones of any 959 casting at this scale. Also, let me know your thoughts on my recovery and resto mod of this one. But all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.